In tonight's headlines, MTR rolls out a nostalgic first-generation train as part of the company's 45th anniversary celebrations. The president of Macau's Court of Final Appeal is likely to run for the top job of the gambling hub after incumbent Chief Executive Ho Iat-seng decided to step down at the end of his term. And Minnesota Governor Tim Walz highlights his small-town values as he accepts the Democratic Party's nomination for vice president.
The maiden trip of the replica of the first-generation white-hat MTR train attracted scores of train enthusiasts as the city's sole rail operator celebrated its 45th anniversary. The train departed Choi Hong Station at 2 p.m., with railway fans packed at the platform since noon to secure a spot on the train. This man said he was most looking forward to seeing the classic ball-shaped string hangers that he had never seen in real life. This 14-year-old boy said he was excited to finally see the white hat train and had been waiting for 3 hours to be the first to see the inside of the compartment. This woman said seeing the train was like going back to the old days and felt that times has been changing fast. The time-limited 45th anniversary themed train is a replica of the city's first operated train that hit the track in 1979. It has an iconic red and white train exterior design and features 2 distinct themed compartments in 8 carriages, which are memory and connections. The memory train compartment incorporates elements such as the signature ball-shaped string hangers, orange-yellow ceilings, and nostalgic lighting to remind passengers of the old days. The connections compartment displays stickers created by local comics artists, reinterpreting the classic comic character My Boy created by the late comics artist Sima Wong in the 1970s and 1980s. Liu Teng-san, Undersecretary for Transport and Logistics, believed that this themed train would bring many surprises to railroad fans of different generations and create new experience. The train will be open for public viewing at the same station this Saturday and continue to operate on selected urban lines until the end of 2024. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
Hong Kongers are buzzing with excitement for the performance by Mainland Olympians in the city next week, with all 5,300 tickets to the 3 events snapped up online within merely 40 minutes this morning. The frenzy began at 10 a.m. sharp. While some tickets have been reserved for underprivileged communities, thousands were vying for tickets online. The wait for diving and swimming demonstrations stretched to nearly an hour and a half, while badminton, table tennis, and gymnastics fans had to face waits of over 2 hours, with nearly 50,000 queuing at one point.
The Housing Society said 13 public rental housing tenants, including 4 who owned other properties in the city, had voluntarily given up their flats so far this year, after the expansion of the well-off tenants policy, which required more than 1,900 tenants to declare their assets. Upon investigation through land search, the society found in one case the tenant was holding more than 30 lots of land, some of which are located in remote areas in new territories, requiring them to further investigate and calculate the market value to see if they exceed the tenant's asset limit. Sanford Poon, the Society's Director of Property Management, revealed in a radio interview that they would also step up scrutiny after they found 20 cross-boundary cars parked at the monthly parking spaces of the Society's housing estates. Separately, starting from October the 1st, the rent for the 20 public rental estates managed by the Society will be increased by 10%. with Group A tenants paying $230 more and Group B tenants $640 more on average per month. Group A tenants will enjoy a 3-month waiver period for the extra rent payable, which is much shorter than the 1-year period offered during the last adjustment. Poon noted that after the rent hike, 60% of the tenants will be paying less than $230 in extra. Moreover, the last rent adjustment took place in the second half of 2022 when the city was still under the challenge of the pandemic, and hence the society had offered a 1-year waiver on the extra rent. However, given that the current economic condition is different from that of 2 years ago, a 3-month waiver should be appropriate for now, he added. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
The SAR's government's task force on subdivided flats has delivered a report outlining suggestions for replacing cramped and unsanitary living spaces. The report, presented to Chief Executive Zheng Li by Deputy Financial Chief Michael Wong and Housing Secretary Winnie Ho, includes detailed data on residents and opinions from property owners. It also proposes specific minimum standards for subdivided flats, covering areas such as living space, safety of buildings, fire regulations, and sanitation. The chief executive praised the report for its targeted approach and objective analysis. He has instructed the task force to consider feedback received during the recent policy address consultations and to submit a revised report within a month. The government will then decide on the next steps based on the comprehensive findings. The race for Macau's next chief executive is beginning to take shape, with the nomination period kicking off next Thursday. The city's president of the Court of Final Appeal, Sam Ho Fai, announced today that he was considering to run for the election, 1 week before the start of the nomination period. Born in Zhongshan, a city in Guangdong province, Sam has been in Macau practicing law for almost 4 decades. Meanwhile, businessman George Chang had also publicly expressed his intention to run for office on his social media page last month, before the Macau government had even announced the election dates. Speculation is rife that several high-ranking officials may also enter the race, including Secretary for Administration and Justice Cheung Wen-chung and Secretary for Security Wang Xiu-chak. All government officials, including Sam, would need to resign from their roles before the nomination period begins to run for office. To be eligible for the election, candidates must receive nominations from at least 66 members of the election committee. A maximum of 6 candidates can compete, and 4 of the past 5 elections have been uncontested. Last night, the city's current chief executive, Ho Iat-seng, announced he will not seek re-election due to health reasons. He is the first Macau leader not to seek re-election since the city's handover in 1999. He took over as the SAR's top official in 2019, with his 5-year term scheduled to end in December. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz accepted the Democratic Party's nomination for vice president and used the momentum at the party's national convention in Chicago to rally support for November's election.
It's the honor of my life to accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States. We love this country. So thank you to all of you here in Chicago and all of you watching at home tonight. Now, I grew up in Butte, Nebraska, a town of 400 people. I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale. But you know what? Never underestimate a public school teacher. Never. You know, when I was teaching every year, we'd elect a student body president. And you know what? Those teenagers could teach Donald Trump a hell of a lot about what a leader is. Leaders don't spend all day insulting people and blaming others. Leaders do the work.
Proud of his small-town upbringing as a teacher and a veteran, an emotional Walz issued a rallying cry for the Democrats to start working, telling them to sleep when they're dead. As Walz was celebrating his nomination, Republican Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance questioned his rival's time in the U.S. Army.
Here's the record on Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. He dropped out of the military and allowed his unit to go to Iraq without him. And he knew they were going to Iraq. He lied about it, but he knew they were going to Iraq. He claimed to carry a weapon in war, but you ask him, Tim, what war have you ever been in? And the answer is he's never been to a single war. He lied about it. He lied about his rank, and he stood in silence as Nancy Pelosi and a lot of journalists praised him for his service on an imaginary battlefield instead of correcting the record.
Police divers on the Italian island of Sicily pulled out a fifth body from the wreck of a luxury yacht, which sank 4 days ago after the vessel was hit by a waterspout. Of the 22 people on board the Bayesian, a 56-meter-long British flag boat, 15 people survived the incident, while the body of the ship's chef, Ricardo Thomas of Antigua, was recovered 2 days ago. The search for the other 6 people missing turned into a recovery operation yesterday after divers managed to enter the wreck 50 meters underwater and find the bodies of 5 people. Moored just 1 kilometer off the town of Porticello, the luxury yacht was owned by British tech tycoon Mike Lynch, who was on board with his 18-year-old daughter when the mishap occurred. Sources say she's the only one now who is unaccounted for. Meanwhile, the public prosecutor's office in the town of Termini Imerese in Sicily's main city of Palermo has opened a criminal investigation into the incident. Italian authorities have raised questions over what caused the super yacht, which was built in 2008, to sink so rapidly when other boats anchored in the area survived the water tornado. No arrests have been made so far.